Okay, so there we go. One very dirty looking Millennium Falcon. So what we'll do now, you've got a couple of options taking this off compared to normal, because it's very textured, lumps, bumps, and all the different bits and pieces on here. You could technically take it off with a brush, like a dry brush, in reverse, if you know what I mean. So by moistening the brush, you can take it off, okay, and do it this way, which I'll show you in a moment. Or you can do it your more traditional way. So traditional way is, as you can see, we've got it all down here now. All right, so literally we're just going to wet the cloth, back of the hand. Now this is on a shiny surface, okay, so we want to get quite a lot of moisture off, because we don't want to take too much of it off. Okay, now directional wise, we're just going to go down and out everywhere, because let's face it, if it's in space, there's nothing to rub against it, so it doesn't matter. All right, so literally we're just going to moisten the cloth, go around, and we're being very gentle on how we do this, because we want it to cling and stick. Okay, we get a bit that grips like there, we can add a little bit more moisture to it. And what we can actually start to do is bringing it back just like this. So we can leave texture in where we want texture to be, we can take it away where we want it to take away, add, remove, and all the rest of it. Okay, and the red from the rust should just hint through. Okay, now this is going to be a funny way of doing this, because not a lot's going to really happen until we put the flat coat on. When the flat coat goes on this, it's going to give us a dead flat look. It will then start to come back, but that's the type of effect we're going with, just like that. Okay, so if we just do 1/2 just to show. Okay, so it's getting caught in all that nice texture, all the bits and pieces, okay, and everything else like that. Now, of course, you could have done this with an oil, but the big difference with an oil is you can't do this. Okay, I can handle it, and that, and the speed, 20 minutes, and we're good to go. Okay, and by using the two colours, we've got a little bit of different types of weathering going on, different types of thing, but it's going to grip and texture. Now this is going to fall apart extremely rapidly when we get in here, but this back area is always really grimy and dirty, okay, and all things like that. So from our point of view, we just want to scrub at it to leave all this detail and texture and everything to really hone through on its own. Now these vents on the top for these air coolers, what we can actually do is we're going to blacken them out a little bit, because they're black on the top of the grill, which we're going to use our way we do wheels technique for that one. Okay, so we're just going to pop down the back of this, and as I say, the tissue is going to fall apart rapidly. Okay, but that's quite good, because it's getting in all the nooks and crannies, and it's giving us a very nice sort of distressed look to it all. Okay, just down in here, just you need to get rid of all these bits off of this. All right, so we're coming with a brush, but there we go, as you can see, starting to come to life. So if we just work our way around, okay, and then a little bit too clean, but you can work as much or as little as you want into all of these, okay, to sort of expose areas and have it more rough and ready as you want. Okay, and to be honest, we're using hardly any moisture at all, purely because this is on a gloss, and as we know, the gloss effect will make the wash just slide off, because it's got no texture to physically bite into. It's not like we're doing armour or anything else like that. Okay, so that is okay, last bit of this front edge. Being a bit careful around them guns. Okay, side parts, and as I say, this is phase 1 of a multi-phase program. But as I say, we want it to make it quite rough looking. We don't want it to be too clean and everything else. All right. So usual thing, you have trouble getting into corners, like I can't really get down here, but we're using this dry, not wet. Okay. Put the moisture just down in here. Okay, got a couple of little marks where the thinners. Okay, and what happens is the wash gets caught in the texture of the thinner where it's melted the paint. Okay, and we're just come around in these. And again, this is what we're talking about back here. It's going to be a sooty type of look, so we're just smearing the clay wash around just like that. A bit cleaner on these other ones because let's see where it is. Okay, just a little bit down here. Okay, just a tiny bit around this cockpit. As I say, these can have some details around here where we're going to take care of it. Okay, but I'm using these older wash ones on, so it sticks and it's nasty and all the rest of it. Okay, and final one. Okay, just this guy up here. And in here is going to be a little bit trickier because the chances are you can see it sticking a little bit, and this is because we couldn't get any of the gloss in here, okay, to sort of semi-smooth this out. So a little bit just down there. Okay, that one on, and there we go. So that shows your look immediately between the two, just like that. And you can see it's still glossy underneath. All right. So what this will have as the next one will actually be a flat coat right the way over this one. Nothing to do with locking down the wash because I don't think that's going to affect anything too much at all. But what that enable it to do is that our further weatherings, we're going to come in and we're going to put some streaking in, some little oil marks, things like that. It'll enable that to all sit and flow, and the capillary action just to go around instead of it just beading up on the surface and things like that. But you want to make sure you're happy with the clay washes first, obviously, before you come off. So just as your final thing, just make sure you are scraping downwards away. Okay, so any sort of marks and things like that are all going that way. But there we go, that's that one done. And hopefully you can see you've got the slight differences in the colour. We've got a little bit of reds here and there and everywhere. We've obviously got the black isn't as strong as you might have thought it might have been all over it, but there we go, that's the Falcon. But until we get the flat coat on there, it's really not going to look much. Okay, as soon as we get the flat coat on, it's going to pop a little bit. So there we go, I'm going to take it off then from the rest of it. So obviously we do the lower halves, the bits and pieces like this, then we can actually put it back together again, so these units and everything else can go back in. Okay, if we're happy with those, get them reinstalled into it and everything else, get a flat coat onto it, and then come in with further weathering, which is going to be with oils and a lot more precise. Okay, so we've done quite a little bit to this and we can explain exactly what we've done. So you might notice slightly different colour. Now this is one of those things where last night I was looking at this and thinking, I don't know, it was too white, it was too bright. Again, you get fooled into this sort of scale effect business, and by scale effect you're thinking obviously the larger or the smaller the scale, as in 144 in this case, you add more white to it. So I was sort of working down those lines, but as I say, I do believe in, depending on the item, obviously if it was a very small item then you need to lighten it, but this is a big ship been shrunk down, so technically it doesn't have to go as light as that. So actually what we did, we just popped around with a little bit of the deck tan, freehanded it right the way over everything. Now the trouble is when you freehand over anything, you're going to actually cover the decal. So then what we did was use a little bit of airbrush cleaner on a cocktail stick, a Q-tip on a cotton bud, and just wipe them all off. And that way we've changed the colour just a little bit. Now down the back here I've already done this. This is simple business of popping around this with the grease and bearings wash by AK. And I'm going to show you a couple of little areas as how we went round, because basically we did the same as we did down in the wells in this entire area, just to darken up this back piece just like this. Okay, so by taking, make sure we've got the right brush, and taking our brush, all we do, we come along. So if we just pick a little area, we'll do all along here, okay? So start off with just going to get a pass right over it, okay? And then not having to be too careful, all right? We are just literally popping around all the panel lines and the bits and pieces. Okay, so it's thinking somewhat like a wash, okay, but it's not, if you like. The wash is already in there and has given us our dark line. This is basically just to accentuate the details, and this is what's going to give us our streaking effect. Now, if you've watched the one doing the helix on the helicopter and a lot of the armor builds we've done, you'll see this is the same technique as what we've used there. So anything that's got lumps, bumps, details, we just give this a run over, just like this. So this is that section done now, okay, and obviously it looks a little bit too much. And then we come in with, make sure we've got the right one, we've got a little bit of pigment fixer, but technically this is just enamel, okay, thinners. Alright, so then we just wipe off all the excess on your brush, just like this. Okay, so take it all off, and then what we do is, we are literally going to streak this down. And what happens is, this is going to hydrate, okay, and it's then going to start to streak and give us a nice dirty look, okay. Don't be too, you know, sort of zealous to get in here and suddenly think, oh, nothing happening, get more thinners in, because you want it to gently let go. You don't want it all just to come off in one, okay. So by brushing it like this, as you can see, you can just sort of agitate it a little bit, okay, get it all down. But what we can then do is start to streak it, and normally you'd let this dry just a little bit first, but from our point of view, we're just popping ahead a little bit quicker. Okay, and then once we've got it all down in here, we can start to streak and pull and drag. Okay, and if you get any areas which are a little bit strong, you can just give them a scrub like this. Then we're going to go in direction. Then you backfill off your paper towel, and as you can see, you can then start to play with each one of these panels in turn. And we'll start at the bottom, a bit like roofing. Okay, and when it starts to stick, just re-flood the area and go through. Now, we don't have to worry about damaging or anything else like that, because we've got lots of protective coats of enamel down on here. Alright, and that way we can just start to work this guy all the way around. Okay. A bit too strong, put it on, so just to take it off a little bit. Okay, and then streaking in. Alright, then we just pick up these top areas. Right. You can start to drag down, and as I say, we want this to look weathered, old, and all the rest of it. So just down like that. And then what you can do is, using where you've got the thinners on the rag, okay, now technically you are better with a rag with this. This is because this is sharp. We can then just rub gently over the top and just drag it out, okay. And that's how we've been working around here. Now this here, we did this entire section exactly the same, just to get this to detail, but I haven't ragged it yet. Okay, so then what we can actually do, we're just going to pop over, and this will act like dry brushing, because it's going to take everything off of the high areas. Now the reason I call this sort of ragging technique is, technically don't use tissue because it just rips up, but if you use a rag, you'll be a lot better. Okay, and then what we can do, we can come in, just rub this over, and this is, as I say, it's like dry brushing in reverse. Okay, because you just, instead of putting it on, you're taking it off. Okay, because the oils will just release, and there we go. You see it starting to come off. All right, and literally you just go around absolutely everywhere, and then you can do like here. This one's drying on this side, so we can just sort of drag it all around. Let's get rid of that. Okay, and you can pull this off just to give it its junky look. Okay, and it changes the colour totally, and then underneath here we've done something similar but not quite as defined. Okay, and we need to pop in there, but you might see here this guy's looking a little bit dark. This is because it's sat on here. So what we'll do, we'll just take him off. All right, and then we just come in. But as I say, when we did the helix, it's exactly the same. Okay, so as you can see, starting to just come off now. This one's been on here, to be honest, been dried on overnight. Okay, so we're just going to give that a little rub all over. Okay, so we can just go around. Right the way over, and then, as I say, we're just going to come in. And as you can see, starting to lighten up nicely. And then we can just pop around all the side areas. Okay, just like that, right the way over, absolutely everywhere. So as you can see, some areas got really heavy down there, but the underside is more of a sort of dusty look. The top is going to be slightly cleaner, but it's going to have more areas coming off. So what this enables us to do is to really detail the parts. Okay, so by coming in and doing it this way, it details them. Half the reason for using the enamel over using oils, because to be honest, I have got oils here as well, is that it literally will dry quicker. From a speed point of view, that's what we're trying to do as we make our way around. But it will dirt it down, it will sort of give it a grubby look, and then what we're going to do is come in with a tiny little bit of oil just to do the streaking, just to give it look like watermarks coming down everywhere as we make our way around. So I'm just going to carry on putting that all the way around. Then we're going to come in with a tiny little bit of oils just to put some streaking in, and being oils, then we can actually focus them with a little bit of enamel thinners again, just to make sure they go in and everything else just like that. So I'm just going to carry around this area, and so you can probably see the difference in it. You've got slightly stainy side now and slightly clean side. This side is the side we want, this side obviously we don't, but generally, as you can see, it's looking very dirty in all the areas. But by the time we come in, a little bit of oils to do the smoking and streaking and everything else like that, it should blend it all together. Okay, so there we go. Being oils and enamels and stuff like that, the one thing you have to remember is obviously stickiness. Don't grab it and hold it, because otherwise you're going to leave fingerprints in it. So I'm edging, literally holding it on the edge, but hopefully you can see, looking pretty grubby, messy, dirty, and everything else like that. Hopefully we're starting to draw it down now to that nice sort of scale effect of exactly what we're after. So the last thing is adding the small little details, and one of them is obviously the scuff marks, stuff like that. Now I was going to put some laser burns over it, but everyone does that, and I'm going to do it that it sort of doesn't has it been repaired or whatever you want to do. I did think about actually putting some replacement panels on this completely, because that's what I assume a lot of these are supposed to be. These different color ones is because it's where it's had different panels, different ages, things like that. Okay, but from our point of view, what we're going to do now is put on a simple bit of oil. So we just got here the cheapest bit of Daily Rooney oil paint you can imagine. Okay, the reason for putting it onto a bit of tissue, or if you wanted to, you could put it onto like a paper towel, something else like, onto cardboard, something else like that, is to get the oils that this has got a lot of it in out, okay? Because the more oil that's in there, the longer it's going to take to dry, obviously. All right, so from our point of view, we want to keep this as dry as possible. We won't be able to lacquer it or sort of, you know, flat coat it or anything for a good couple of days until this has started to really dry off. Then we can actually put an acrylic flat coat over the top of this really to knock it back. But at the moment, I'm quite happy of how it actually is. So down here we've got a nice brush, okay, and I've got a wayward hair on this one, or a bristle, so I'm just going to snip him off because that's what we don't want. So what we do, just pick up a little bit. Now on the top it's going to be going to the outwards, but on the inside, because it's domed downwards, it's going to be going the other way, okay? It's going to be sort of coming inwards to drop off. Okay, so we'll start on the outside. Anywhere that's got a lump, bump, or something else like that, I'm imagining that, you know, obviously it's going to have dirt, dust and that. Water's going to fall on it and it would streak off just as it would with any other piece of armour or ship or whatever. Okay, so we're just sort of going along with that. So what we're going to do here is just going to put on little bits of streaking like this, okay? That's all these are. Okay, now these don't have to be exact or too precise, because what we're doing is just going to be fading these back with our thinners in a moment. Okay, so you're just picking out a little bit of oil. You know, you could do a dot way as well, literally just place a dot but I prefer to sort of somewhat pull it. Okay, now these, some of them we'll use, some of them we won't, because I'm overdoing it. So when some look better than others, then we can come in. So for the moment, we're just popping some of these bigger ones in. Okay, then the idea being is some of these will be used slightly more than others. Okay, and literally. So this isn't a dot filter or anything else like that. This is for streaking. Okay. So ideally we're just going to pop these on. So what I'm using is this keyed edge, if you like, that how it has. Or just sort of recreating that. All right. So we're just going to walk around. Now, let's give these just a second to dry as we're working our way around on these. All right, so. And this is one of these things where you sort of just need to balance how you actually do this, okay? So obviously if you put too much thinners on, you're going to have a real problem. If you're going to put not enough down there, not a lot's going to happen. Okay, so that's what we were trying to do here. Alright, so just put these in as you feel fit, as they are. Alright, so these are on just like that, and at the moment, as you can see, they're a little bit overpowered. So we just drop this top cam down a little bit more. Okay, so this same brush that we used before that had thinners on it, remember, you've got to be direction of airflow. We want to be a little bit precise because we're going to drag them off. Okay, so this is literally what this is all about. We're sort of just now smudging this in. So you're dragging and smudging as you go through. So it sort of fades it off as well, because obviously it's just a faded line rather than being anything really strong. And this is how we do our streaking, okay? So you can see it fades and drags. We don't want anything too major. But just remember, it's like a carving knife, so you're sort of digging at it. Don't be brushing up and down, otherwise you're going to take it all the wrong way. And what you can do, like this one here, I'm not happy with because it's slightly bent. So what I want to do is we need to sort of, you know, fix that. Alright, so we're just going to put these in. These ones at the top. So you say some of these are really strong. Really strong. Okay, so we're going to need to pull some of these back. This is all we're doing, just pulling in, streaking down. And then what we'll do is we're going to look at the ones which are better than others and then remove other ones. Okay, so as you can see, some of these on camera look a little bit dark, but hopefully you can see this is what we're doing. So for the moment, they're happy with those. So we'll just carry on with the process. So flicking downwards only. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a lot of bit of black now on the brush, so we're just going to wash that off and get almost all of it off. Okay, now some of these that I'm not happy with, like this guy here, we're going to remove. So we're literally going to take him out. Okay, and then this guy's a bit too much. Okay, so we're just using the ones we think, yeah, not too happy with. So we're just using too much thinners just to get rid of totally. All right. And we want to just fade these in to be proportionate. And and play with the ones that we want to draw now, like these, being a little bit more creative and accurate on it. Okay, so we can actually blend them in, alright. Okay, and then what we can do is pop along with a cotton bud as well. To actually detail up, clean off on sides and all things like that. Okay, and this is all we're doing now. Just a fade, blend, drag. Okay, in a moment we're going to go over it and give it a scrub like the paper scrub we did. That is purely to blend it all together. Okay, starting to come off again, because you can see what's happening is where we're digging over it's getting very dark, but we can clean them up. Okay. Just and so it's the artistic license in it. Okay, so now we're getting these swishing in. It's very wet at the moment, so it'll dry back. So as soon as that starts to dry off a little bit, we'll come in with a paper towel and just dragging down again just to put them in. But hopefully you can see you've got the ones obviously to the left and the right. You can see this sort of streaking, but you can adjust, tidy, pull in, just come in on the diagonals, just to drag them around a little bit. And you can continue to move this stuff as much as you want. This guy down here, let's just drag a bit of this around. Okay. Just remember to wash your brush out every now and again. Like here, for instance, looking a little bit too dark, so we're just going to pop in with our thinners. Okay, just wash it down. All these areas just like this. Okay, at the top, streaking, just being careful with it. Okay, just keeping mindful of your direction. Like there, we were slightly coming off to one corner, so we're just trying to keep this all going in the right direction. Want it all to be heading south. Just down here, coming down. Just going to fade it back just a little bit, because you're using the raised texture to give a cone for where you're brushing in, okay? We'll clean it just around here. Docking bay. Little bits of fluff on here from the paper. And there we go. That's what we're trying to sort of recreate. Sort of staining and dripping and everything else on there just like that. Alright, so we're just going to do exactly the same for the other side, and this is one of the last things we can actually do with this one. I was originally going to come in and use sanding techniques and take it back and all the rest of it, but because we've had so much oils in here, it's softened the paint slightly. So what happens then is when you try and sand it, you just go straight through it, even with very fine stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to just do it this way, just to give it that awful junk look, for want of a better word. Okay, so I'm going to carry on a few more spots around this guy, put them all in and everything else, and then we can actually get in, unmask the cockpit, have a look at that. A little bit of detail work, just some little colours, things like that, just to go over this one, just put it all in there and everything else like that. Check it, a little bit of dry brushing, okay, which again I think we might do with just a little bit of oils, just to blend this all over right the way through, and then we should be good for the reveal. Okay, so we're into the latter stages of this. So what we're going to do now is go around and do a little bit of post shading. Now we've already done the underside and we've popped around, generally grounded up, a little bit of stuff going down here. Okay, so easiest way to do that is we've got quite a thin mix already mixed up here of the actual rubber black. Now this is just XS85 and it's probably 75% thinners with around about, I would say, sort of 25% paint in there. Very well mixed. Make sure your airbrush is running really well, and we're going to post shade. So this is pretty straightforward, as the name would suggest. We're going to go around. So we've already done these areas just down at the front, and all we've done is little swirling motions around, and we're doing these exhausts at the moment. So we'll start from the rear one. So we're just going to come in like this, all right, and then literally we're just going to fill and then smoking the outside just like that, okay, and then what we're going to do is flick it back. And this is just our standard way of doing gun smoking, okay, and all things like that. So we're just going to drag that off just down the back, and then the same with this guy. It's all on the inside, and then just flick over. Okay, then we've got the last one down here. So you're always shooting away from yourself and just being careful you get all the bits out. Okay, so just in the middle. Okay, and then we're just going to flick it off down the back. Okay, just like that, and then this top one, and a little flick off down the back. Okay, and there we go. Very straightforward, very, very easy. Now, generally, your post shading, you just want to be very careful how you go around because it's a thin mix. It's not going to cover, it's not going to be speckly and everything else. It should be nice and smooth. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to work around some of the areas. So, like this part just down in here, we just move this camera angle just a fraction. Just over like this. Hopefully you can see it then. Okay. So what we've actually got down here, we're just going to start. So we're just going to put it up this edge. Just give it a little bit of a shadow, bit of a shade, and then we're just going to pop around some of these panels. So we've got this panel up here, and as you see, we're not trying to, totally change anything. We're literally just puffing in a little bit, and it's just to shadow it all up. And as you can see, just following it around, and like we say with all shadowing and shading, it shouldn't be nice. Okay, we're looking for a little bit of dirtiness and texture. Okay, and all these areas. So we're just lightly going around, and we're not doing every single one. Okay. So we're just popping in these, we're just going to drop some up here. Shading across around the top. Okay, just do around these rears. Okay. She's just going to give us our shading and shadowing literally right the way around. Little bits of fluff on this. To be honest, left over from the paper towel that we use. Okay, and there we go. That's all over it like that. Just to break it down, bring it down. Now, if we wanted to do some more sort of detailed looks on these, let me just grab that over here. What we can actually do is do some quite precise stains, smoke marks, and things like that, okay? So what we're going to do is we need an edge. We need to work off of an edge. Okay, so if we just do around here. So assuming we've got these bolts, or I say bolts, lumps sticking up, okay? So what we're going to do, we're just going to put the tape right behind them, because we need to see where they are. And then we're just going to shoot from this side of it, okay? And we're just going to do a tiny little flick down, just like that, okay? And you can actually put in little sort of dirt marks and things like that. So we're going to work off this panel, okay? And I'm just going to limit my airflow just a little bit more. Okay, So then that way we can start to just grub up little panels, but I don't want to do it everywhere on this one. We're just trying to put in, because technically we're doing this the wrong way around as well. We want this to sort of push off. All right, so we want things to be going wet and downward, so we can use this guy down here. Okay. So we're just trying to darken up some of these red panels, okay, just to put them little bits of life in them. Okay, some little streaks. Just to dirty this all up, okay? So we're just going to put a little tiny guy. Okay, just to put grime in absolutely everywhere. Okay, so as you can see, we're always shooting away, but I'm getting a bit carried away. Technically, you should be putting these in. If you put this in like this, and then, okay, you can just dot it in. But sometimes I think for an overall better effect, okay, you can just put these in, just to be running off. Okay, just like this. And the way over, so we've got another couple here. Okay, and you can get in there nice and tight. Just add. You know, your dirt and your weathering in exactly how you want it all the way over on this one. And what we're going to do is just going to backpedal just in the leeward shadow areas that we did these vents, just so they're all completely covered. Okay, I think we've just got a couple more just down in here. Okay, and if you wanted to put in blaster marks and things like that, you would dot them in like it, but to be honest, I'm going to probably leave it because we want this one to be looking dirty and grimy and all those areas. And as you can see, we've done a few on the bottom as well, just to take care of. It's got a couple of bit more post shading just to do just in here. Again, we want it all to be looking nice. A little bit of smoke on the end of the guns as if it's been shooting. Obviously you could take it off and do it. Okay, things like that. And then perhaps we'll just put a couple more stronger little grime lines coming in. Every now and again, don't let any build up on your needle, just give it a blast out and a pull. Okay. We're spinning around. Okay, so all that weathering sort of going inwards, just like that. Okay, we just do these top guns. So we're just going to give these a bit of a blast. Because also a little bit on the front. Okay. What we're going to do is just going to do a little bit of post up here. adjust around. These are looking a little bit even, shall we say. So the actual docking rings, just the areas just like that, just a little bit. And I know freehand terrifies people, but because it's quite thin, should be fine. You shouldn't have too many problems with it. Okay. But by spraying over the decals, what that enables you to do is just to give a more rounded look to everything. Okay. Okay, right way over it. Alright, just down around there. And there we go. That is about as far as I'm going to take this particular one. Okay, we're happy with how that all is. Let's just move that out the way. Okay, and there we have our Falcon, or Falcon, depending where you are in the world, completely done. Okay, no problem at all. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a tiny bit more weathering just under here. Okay, and just on these rim bays. Just down there like that. And there we go, all finished. What an amazing job. Absolutely phenomenal build. I've said about it and I'll repeat it and I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face. Bandai, you are an amazing company. Having really been thrown in at the deep end with your good selves, been handed the mantle for doing the Star Wars stuff and everything else like that, it was a tall order and really you guys have hit it completely out of the park. Not only is the kit an incredible kit, the way it goes together amazingly. Remember, there's no glue. I say again, there's no glue, no filler or anything holding this thing together. I could completely dismantle it and then rebuild it again if I wanted to, but you can't see a single seam line, a join or anything else in this particular kit. That's how good it is at the end of the day. But only that, but you handled the mantle of actually producing Star Wars, and let's face it, Fine Molds are one of the best manufacturers of Star Wars kits out there. Their level of detail, you know, the way the kits go together and everything else is actually very high standard. So for you guys to come along and be up against them, and I know a lot of people at the time, well, Bandai, don't they just build giant robots and stuff? You know, they don't actually build, you know, model kits in the true sense of it. You do. And not only have you brought all the techniques you've obviously learned and you know, you've obviously devised different systems, the way things lock together, interlocking parts which are extremely cleverly done, but you've brought them to something mainstream modelling now, and I do wonder if you was to build a Spitfire, how good would that be? You know, because this isn't an easy shape. It's not just like two legs and it's jointed and everything else. This is a very complex kit. Obviously I've done the Fine Molds 172nd one in the past, and I've done other people's as well, and the way they go together, there's usually sort of joins and lines and all things like that. This one just doesn't have them. They're incredibly well thought out, incredibly well designed, the way parts interlock and then pull each other in, and everything else like that. The way that these bays on the top fit in, and they are straightforward push button in the bottom, one piece injection molded parts, is absolutely phenomenal. Technically that should be a 6 or 7 parter, but you haven't. You've managed to do it in injection molding. The way the hose work and everything else seamlessly flows from one part to the other. Again, it's absolutely phenomenal. It is one of those kits where, you know, you look at it and you think it shouldn't be that good. It should need filler. I should have joints here. I should have this. I should have that and everything else. But it doesn't. It just falls together as easy as I say. And you'll hear people like me say, they're fantastic. They just fall together. And you're thinking, yeah, okay. Honestly, they do. They are that good. And as I said, I wish Bandai would go out and bring out a Spitfire or a Mustang or, you know, something modern, a Harrier, something complex, an F-35, because you know it would be absolutely amazing. And they would then be up there as the best manufacturer out there. I think personally they're the best manufacturer out there. Getting back on track. Do you tell? I'm a bit of a Bandai fan. But this one slightly played up with me. The paint, getting the colour scheme right and everything else like that. I wanted this thing to have a heavily worn look to it. I never wanted it to be anything that was going to be a sort of, you know, just grey. No disrespect to guys that have built this kit before, because I've done exactly the same as well with my other Millennium Falcons I've done. I tend to just do that thing of saying, right, okay, so, you know, an off-white right the way over, or a gunship colour or something else like that, and then come in and say, right, okay, we're just going to do a little bit of washes and we walk away from it. This one I wanted to do something that a little bit more and literally extend over the weathering. But it come back and bit me, because some of the techniques we wanted to do with rubbing back, stuff like that, didn't work because of oils. They fought me. But then we've used them in what I think is the better way. So when you see this down here now, you know, hopefully each panel should look slightly different. Each panel should look slightly beaten up. Each panel should have a sort of different look to it. Okay, and that goes down on the underside as well. I didn't want it to be my standard generic just off grey right the way over. I wanted each panel to have a slightly different hue and different things. And certain things, like you can see down here, you can still see the red, that quite a lot left over from the wash where we had the reds going down there. You can see red hue to absolutely everything. So by going around and like restaining up, you can see it. Using, as we did down here on this back section, as I said, a lot of this is enamel washes. These ones down the bottom here, these are enamel washes, okay, and they really do bring it all to life and bring it together very nicely. The detail again, down in the clam area, if you like, all of these running down here, again, not only is Bandai, you know, amazingly done well doing it all and made it so simple to go together as well, but also by using the washes, hopefully you can see you've got a little bit of reds in there and different colours. Don't forget, we haven't actually done anything to this. We've just given it a wash and walked away from it and gone right the way through it. Okay, so it is absolutely lovely. Fantastic, really enjoyed it, and generally just going around it and looking at it, so much detail for so little work. Technically you look at it and you think, oh, that's so intricate, that's amazing detail. It was one piece that put in and pushed together. And you know, technically modelling shouldn't be like that. It should be complex and all the rest of it. But why is it? It shouldn't have to be. Bandai have brought this to us now, though it's just one of those things where, yes, of course, you just push it in, it's going to be a perfect fit. You put two each side of it, you get it, and there's no seal or anything else like that. The way that this area has gone together all around here is absolutely astounding, because originally I thought I was going to have to glue it. Well, I haven't glued it, we've just gone in there, okay, and it was absolutely fine. It had a tiny bit of liquid cement, but it wasn't like a weld job. But the way it pins in and goes in, and this entire section, it's slightly sunk so you don't get the line or anything else like that, I think was absolutely amazing. The only thing you could do with this kit if you wanted to is obviously stick the LED lighting system in it. And obviously don't forget, we still have the ability to do that at any point if we wanted to, take this apart and put the LED lighting into it. And it is something I might do. If I can get one for a good price, I might stick the LED lighting set into this, because we know we can just simply pop this guy apart and we can do it and away we go. I've, as you can probably tell, have loved this build. This kit is my kit of the year, and I'm going to be harping along about it in the New Year's show. And you know, it is that good. If you're thinking about having a go at a fine molds kit and everything else, this is one of the obviously bigger ones, smaller in scale but bigger in stature. It is well worth it. It's one of those builds where you can make it as complicated or as easy as I like. If you want to give it to the kids, let them put it together, use the stickers, they're not too bad, okay, and you can just put it down and you're going to end up with a very nice Millennium Falcon. If you're a new modeler coming to the hobby, go and get yourself Bandai kits. They are absolutely phenomenal. This is one that I'm currently just working on at the moment. This is the Y-wing. The detail in there is some of the best detail I've seen in a model kit to date. Okay, it is that good. And it's just falling together. Again, there is no glue in that whatsoever at the moment. Probably going to do a little bit of glue, just hold those hosing together, but again, no glue. And when I make a thing of saying there's no glue, that shows the quality of the kit that it actually is. Okay, so really from a modeler's point of view, you can be a brilliant modeler or you can be a brand new modeler to the hobby. You're going to come along with roughly the same thing, okay? Where you can extend your skills, is what I've done on this one, or hopefully I've done on this one, is by weathering it. And I've tried to give this a look of something that's far bigger, i.e. if I was to to put this onto a white piece of paper and photograph it, you wouldn't know what scale it is. It could be 1/72 scale, it could be 1/44, it could be anything in between, by breaking it up and making it look in different levels and everything else like that. But there we go. I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, join me again next time.
Baby, it's crazy.